Hello and welcome to another great edition of Beyond the Hype for Black Enterprise. I'm your host, Alfred Edmond Jr., Senior VP and Executive Editor-at-Large at Black Enterprise, here with another critically important topic to discuss. And once you hear this topic, you're going to know I'm all about it because I'm living that life. I've been about that life for 30 years. We're talking about having health and longevity and productivity after the age of 50. So today's topic is game planning for winning after 50. And we couldn't have a better guest because she's living that life too. She's actually the fly ageless achiever role model for this life. And that is Cheryl P. Williamson, speaker, author, editor-in-chief of Cheryl Mag, award-winning filmmaker, mindset coach. If I go through everything, the show will be over and we'll just do a part two down the road. But please welcome to the show, Cheryl P. Williamson.
Hello, Alfred. I am so excited to be here with you today. And like you said, this was a great topic, and there's no better person than I could be on with today to discuss this topic with my brother who is doing phenomenal things. My role model, which he didn't know that, but now he knows for a very long time. So I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Isn't it cool when there's mutual role modeling going on?
Yes, it is. It's just that mutual respect for people who know that we walk in that winning spirit. And that's what I know we both have. We want each other to win, and we're going to get this opportunity to teach other people how they can develop that same winning attitude that we have.
Yeah, and this is very, it's part of my own personal journey. You know, I remember as I got into my mid 40s, and that was when I started really game planning for this, I wasn't calling it that at the time, but I started doing the math on career opportunities and earning power and what I wanted my life to look like, for at that point I was thinking the next 40 years of my life. Now I'm thinking the next 40 years from the current 62 that I am now.
Yes.
And I began to realize that if I wasn't very intentional about planning what I wanted to happen, that I would be left with whatever happened. And that may not be the pretty picture that I might have wanted it to be. And so I started studying wealth and longevity and health. And I was already into fitness from my early 30s, but I started looking at it not from a standpoint of just, having six-pack abs and looking good in my clothes, but thinking about what kind of quality of life did I want to have. And I started I started studying people like, Cheryl, people over the age of 50 who were still living well, having an impact, making good money, wealthy. Everybody from Oprah Winfrey to Jay Leno, who Jay Leno basically gets paid to play with cars. That's all he wants to do, and they pay him to do it. And I was like, that I want to be intentional about that. The other thing that influenced me was I read Dennis Kimbro's book, The Wealth Choice, and there was some things about that about kind of having a long game attitude about time, but also me realizing that most millionaires and billionaires are over the age of 50, and why we live in a youth-driven culture. You don't reach your peak earning years, whether you're a career person or an entrepreneur or some combination of both, as most of us are going to end up being, until you get past age 50. And so my last point in setting up this conversation, and we just had our first Black Enterprise Health is Wealth event, is the challenge that unfortunately too many Black men die or are dying as we reach those peak earning years after the age of 50. And too many Black women live but are dealing with chronic conditions and illnesses that don't allow them to maximize everything that they bring to the table in terms of talent and abilities and mindset and the whole nine. And so I'm on this big kick about it's that wealth without health and longevity, that we're not going to close the Black wealth gap if we don't make that an intentionality in this whole journey toward equity and inclusion and the continued progress that Black Enterprise has been chronicling since 1970. So that is my story. And I said, who can I have on the show to talk about this topic? And of course, you're the first person that came to mind because, again, you are living it. You're teaching it, but you're living it. Of course, the living it is actually the more effective teaching than the actual teaching part. But let me stop because I can go on forever about this because I'm so passionate about this topic for very personal reasons. But talk to me about first of all, tell the story, tell my audience the story of your journey to becoming the one and only Cheryl P. Williamson.
So at 48, and you really set me up for this. At 48, actually, my husband and I bought the franchise rights to 5 Title Boxing Club fitness centers. And the reason that we did this is because, one, for generational wealth for our children, and then both of us are into health and fitness. So we opened the club, we started making a difference in people's lives. And I realized that this was not what I wanted to do full time, that my calling, my setup was something different. So, Alfred, what I decided to do is while I was working at the fitness club and becoming fit and helping people become fit, I wrote a book. It was an affirmations book. And the affirmations book came about because with owning the club, I'll be candid, something that we don't talk about is I became overwhelmed and I felt myself feeling a little bit of depression. I'm just putting it out there because we have to realize that in order to earn money and all of these things, sometimes things don't go exactly as we thought. So, as a result of that mild depression, I started posting on social media the things that God would say about me to myself to bring me to fruition. So people started following me on social media to get these affirmations and information. So one day, the Lord said, it's time for you to put this in a book. So I didn't know how to write a book, but I am a master networker. So I got with someone, they helped me write the book. The first affirmations book, I placed it out on the market, and to date, that book has sold 31,000 copies of that book. It's a bestseller. So from that, the journey of books, then I moved into stage plays, all while keeping healthy. I moved into doing stage plays. I won executive producer of the year for my stage plays. And then I decided, okay, I'm great at this. So then I partnered to do a film called Illegal Roles that Jasmine Guy starred in. We won awards for that film. After that film, then I did 20 Pearls, the story of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority, in which I won an HBO Max award for that. All this keeping in line with my mindset. Because, Alfred, I'll tell you, people ask me, even when I was doing the book, how do you know people are going to buy the book? I said, because I believe in me. And that's a part of this journey, this fitness journey, this mindset journey. If you believe it, that's where it starts. So I believed I could do the films. I believed I could write the books. I believed that then I could turn those books and films into speaking engagements. So then I went from doing film to speaking all over the world. But it took me having that positive mindset, not listening to naysayers, not listening to anybody tell me that you don't know the right people, you're not going to be able to get in the right rooms. So for those of us who are over 50, it is your time. It's your season. We have raised the kids. We have helped them sow into everybody. Don't you think it's time for you to sow into yourself? That's what I decided. It was time for me to be me, for me to carry out my gifts and my calling into the world. And I have soared as a result of that, which is why my brother has me here today to just for both of us to share with you the value of walking in your 50 and above and knowing that you can do it. It starts with you believing it. And I believed all of these things about me, and I've seen them manifest and come to pass.
You know, if you talk about naysayers, and we're going to get deeper into this during the course of the conversation, but the biggest cultural naysayer is ageism.
Yes,
And to
yes,
be, you know, everything around us since we were little. I mean, it's not a new thing. You know, all the famous people and the beautiful people, they're athletes and entertainers. And obviously, those are pursuits that, yes, you tend to, you know, to reach your quote unquote peak of recognition for those professions in your, you know, teens to your, let's say, mid 30s. You know, when you talk about sports and entertainment in particular, which obviously
yes,
that those examples are exaggerated in Black communities. So, but even without that, we live in a society that really is so youth focused and always have. You know, that's never, you know, not been the case, at least in the latter half of the 20th century into now. So you got the bigger naysayer that's basically telling you, if you ain't got it done by the time you're 40, you might as well just kind of shut it all down and call it in. And nothing could be further from the truth. And you hit the nail on the head. I know that one of the positive effects of the pandemic shutdown, and I don't mean to say that that was a positive experience by any stretch of the imagination,
Right.
but God brings out the good things, even the most horrible things. And for me,
Yes, he
it
does.
was making me be quiet. I
Yes.
was no longer married. My children are grown, like,
Yes.
two of them are married. My son and his wife had my first grandchild, so they're like, you don't look. We're not holding you back. And I'm like, when this opens up, I mean, not that I wasn't on this journey before. Like I said, it started for me in my mid 40s. I was like, what you gonna do? What you have
Yes.
nothing. God's like, you worked hard. You can't say your job is holding you back. You can't say your
Yes.
spouse is holding you back. You can't say your mom and dad is holding you back. My parents went to glory in 2018. Your kids are all grown. They're not asking you for nothing. They're not on your payroll anymore. Now, what
Yes.
are you going to do? And the truth is, Cheryl, I am having a truly blessed experience. All you talk about. I'm a patron of the Howard Washington Cultural Center in Chicago. Um, yes,
Congratulations.
and they just finally went back to live theater in December, post pandemic, and now look, I'm getting ready to help be a producer for my first play when they bring it to New York. Something I never
Yes.
would have thought of. This play called Queens of the Policy is an amazing production. Um, it's just, and I'm thinking about all the things that I've been doing, even in these last, let's say, 3 years. And if I didn't
Yes.
have the right mindset, that's what we want to jump into. I would have been like, oh, I don't do that, and I've never done that, and I'm not doing that, and I'm not. I need to focus on this thing, and when the flip side really is, it's not only uh, good to think with a more positive mindset, but it actually may become necessary because I'm thinking about how do I extend my peak earning years? How do I maximize my talents
Yes.
and seek opportunities so that it's not just wishing to live another 40 years, it's being able to afford to do another 40 years
Yes.
when I can't count
Yeah.
on a payroll necessarily from Black Enterprise or anybody else. And that's why I spend a lot of time thinking about if we don't game plan, and we're probably the first generation of Americans and Black Americans in particular who can expect, women in particular, can expect to live past 80, who can expect to live
Yeah.
past 90. And it's really more about how do you want to live? Do you want to regret it? Or
Exactly.
do you want to be, or do you want to be, thank God I am still here
Struggling.
because I got stuff to do and I'm having a good time. And I'm in that latter camp. I'm trying to be balling out. I tell people I want to be balling out till I'm 104 and then have a nice, graceful decline into glory. But
Absolutely.
that's not going to happen by accident. And that's why I really wanted to have you
No.
on to talk about that. You already committed to health and fitness because of where you started your journey as an entrepreneur with your husband. Um, but mindset, we are both men and women of faith, I tell people I
Yes.
don't see how you make it through
I don't
without it,
either.
at least not joyfully. I'm very serious about mental health and wellness. I have a standing appointment with
Yes.
my therapist every week. I mean, so
Yes.
I'm on this thing where I'm trying to put all these pieces together and saying, if I'm really committed to health and longevity, what does that mean? What are the practices that I need to adopt in my life now to at least increase the chances of that plan coming to fruition? But I do know if you don't plan it, it's not just going to happen automatically.
No, it's not going to happen at all. And the critical piece of what you and I are going to talk about during this time that we just touched on is really, Alfred, is mindset. We need everybody right now to realize that your mindset really is your superpower. Your mindset is the thing that determines how far you will climb, how fast you will go, where you will land. My mindset changed everything for me. I had no film experience. I had never written a book before. I had never been a speaker before. I had never gotten paid almost now 6 figures to be a speaker. But because my mind told me I could do it, I believed it. And so I train myself. The first thing I do in the morning, when people talk about routine, it is about a routine. You have to have a routine to win. I tell myself I'm a winner. So when I write out what I want to see happen in my life, I get up every morning before everybody else and I write out what I want to see happen. I receive preferential treatment. I receive God inspired ideas that produce millions of dollars. I live to 105 healthy, and I know that I'm in the world. When you write it out, it has no choice but to manifest. So the things that people see happening in my life, they're because I wrote them out. I had a strategy, I had a plan. You have to show up in the spaces and places that you want to play in. When you talk about balling out of control, brother, I already know you're going to be balling out of control because I see the life that you live. I see how boldly you live it. I see how unapologetically you live it. And at 50, what do we have to lose? It's like you already said. We already raised our kids. They already have kids. They're out of college. So we need to be able, all those dreams that we put on hold, it's time to take the hold off, take the foot off the brake, put it on the gas, and get moving. We have more time behind us than we do ahead of us, and we have to realize that. And I am in such full agreement with you. Most millionaires are made at the age that we are right now because we've already made the mistakes. We already started playing and staying in the spaces, you and I, with millionaires and billionaires, because we know we can't stay and play in places with people that's only thinking about $1,000. And that's no insult to people. If that's where you're comfortable with, that's where you're comfortable with. But we can't stop our minds from wanting to achieve more. And that's where I am, and I know that's where you are. But it starts in the mind. Whatever it is that's in our mind that leaves our mouth, it will manifest in our life. And that's good or bad.
And
So
I want
whatever
to
you
I want to
say,
build on this thing about ritual, um, and
okay.
because even now I had rituals when I was in my late 30s. I remember the first time I read Think and Grow Rich, a Black Choice, this
Yes.
earlier book, and I used to make a list of the 10 things I wanted to accomplish every year, and I would look at that list every day when I woke up, and every morning,
Yes.
every night before I went to sleep, I looked at that list, and because of that, routinely, 6 out of 10 of those things would happen, and maybe another two would happen, but it just wouldn't happen in that year. And then I realized that the last two are things that I wasn't really serious about, so I just took it off the list. Because if I was serious about it,
Yes.
I'd been doing something about it. But my point about
Yes.
rituals is that even since then, my rituals have evolved over that 30 years. I've added things and taken things out. But my point to people is that you got to figure out a way for not just to read the affirmation book, but to integrate those affirmations in your day-to-day life. For example, none of my hashtags are accidental. There's the hashtag the success expert. There's the hashtag what a grown man knows because I'm trying to talk about my growth from boy to man, which never stops if you're still living. And it's good to be me. So I
Yes.
keep self pity away. No matter what happens, it's always good to be me. And of course, God is good. That on
Yes.
everything I post,
Yes.
those four things are going to be there. There may be different
Absolutely.
topics, but my point is, people say, "Well, why do you do that?" I said, it's not really for you. It's for me to have a constant reminder of what I say I believe, constantly reinforcing that because at some point you don't have to think about it anymore. And then it starts manifesting in the
Absolutely.
choices you make, the relationships you build, the people you it becomes, but if you don't commit to the ritual, which again starts with mindset, then you'll mean to do it. It's like, meaning to pray every day, meaning to, you know, call, whatever you mean to do, but life gets in the way. So I'm just passionate about this whole, people say, why do you work out every day? Because I say I eat every day. Eating is a ritual.
Absolutely.
So I work out as part of my ritual and then I don't have to think about it anymore.
It's the truth. And I like when you said about the hashtag because that ties into after the mindset, then it's
Yes.
intention. So you have to set the intention, right? So when you do the hashtag, your intention is to let people know, yes, it's for me. But if you're looking for somebody to speak on these specific topics or subject, you already saw it in my hashtag, so you know you can call me. So you did that with intention. People don't have to guess about what your intention is. And so it's the same thing in life. Once you get your mindset straight, then you operate with intention. You stop going to, like, and I know you probably have run into this, where you ask people, "Oh, why are you going to that conference?" And they can't even tell you why they're going. They set no intention. They don't know who's speaking or anything. They can just tell you, "Girl, at the end, they have a good party. We do the electric slide." I don't know about you, but at 50, I don't have time to worry about the electric slide. I'm going to know who's at the conference, who at that conference can help get me to my next, and I'm going to study and know something about them, because my mind has told me I'm a winner. My mind has told me that I need to be intentional. So I'm going to intentionally go to that conference with the lesson in mind about what I want to achieve. And at 50, that's what we have to be. We have to operate with a great mindset. We have to be intentional. And you already know where I'm going. We have to operate with grace and integrity.
Yes.
Grace and integrity. We have to show people the same grace that we want, whether we're 50 or not. But that's what it is. And that's a part of a ritual. Gratitude, right? I know you get up and you're, I mean, just so I know I can tell that about you and what you post and who you are, that you always take time for gratitude. And that's a part of living a good long
Yeah,
life.
yeah. If you can make it to age 50, I mean, and this doesn't mean you're off the hook if you're under 50. If you can make it to age
Right.
50 and not find anything to be grateful for every day, I don't know. I mean, I'm just, and you're right. And again, I'm not saying that the way I am today was the way I was 10 years ago. It's a growth. It's a growth thing. But
Absolutely.
Cheryl, coming out of the pandemic, I have a prayer corner in my house. I never had one before.
Woo,
And now
me
my
too.
ritual, part of my ritual is as soon as I get up, I may go to the restroom first, but then I'm going to the prayer corner. Because not
Yes.
because it, it's just that if I build it into my ritual, it sets the course, like you said, the mindset for the day. The other thing is
It
people
does.
say, how do you, they look at my social media and they say, oh, you do so much. How do you do all this stuff? You're doing this, you're doing that. I said, I get to do everything I want to do by saying no to the things that it would be nice to do,
Yes.
that it would be nice to do. You know, I don't want to tell you how many
Ab-
TV shows I never watched because I got other stuff I need to do. I'm sure they're great shows.
Absolutely.
But my point, you're going back to we have more time behind us than ahead of us. We recognize the extreme value of time
Yes.
and what we do with
We
it.
we
And
do.
part of it is leveraging that and saying, listen, I'm not going to waste other people's time, but I'm going to be honest with myself about what I want to do with my time, and I'm going to use it for that and not, fritter it away with other things that may be very nice. Again, I'm not talking about bad things. I always tell people, what do you really want?
Absolutely. And that's why I love when you say you do what you want to do with your time, because the thing is, we have to be true, and I love this. Let our yes be yes and our no
Yes,
be no.
yes.
And right? And what I've learned about that is I say yes to me more, and I say no to other people, because I can't live and fulfill my dream if I'm working so hard to fulfill everybody else's. My favorite quote is, never live so deeply in somebody else's dream that you never fulfill any of your own.
Yes, yes, yes. So talk to me. And again, this conversation is not just for those of us who are past 50. My, I spend a lot of my time talking to, including many of my mentees, that you don't have to wait like I did. I mean, I didn't really start having this realization until we were around. You said 48. I was about 47. I was maybe 25 years in at Black Enterprise, starting to do the math on earning capacity and salary limitations
Yes,
and having to have a real conversation with myself about what did I want my life to look like, and then how was I going to be able to afford to do the things that I wanted to do. And even that, I had to change my mindset about that, because even saying the word "I can afford" was more of a lack mindset than a prosperity
yes,
mindset. But again, you take the baby
yes.
steps, you go along the way.
Absolutely.
But I tell younger people, as early as their 20s, you don't have to wait until you're 45 to start actually valuing the time that you have. You don't have to wait to adopt a mindset that says, I'm going to be very intentional about longevity. And I always tell people, winning takes planning. Winning
Yes, it,
takes planning. If you're going to win over the long haul, yeah, you'll win the occasional encounter by luck. But when you're talking about life, you're talking about planning. And that doesn't mean that everything's going to go according to plan, but it will always go better than if you have no plan. So talk to me a bit about the mindset coaching that you do that informs how you live, but also is what you tell people, whether they're people who attend to hear you speak, whether you're mindset coaching clients. What are some of the key points that people could take away from our conversation that they should be adopting in their own life to really have a kind of intentionality about winning, let's say, from today going forward, and certainly as they move past 50?
so this would be true for any age, and I love that you said, "What do we do for mentees?" So I will tell you. Can you or just go with me here? Can you imagine the power that children would have if we start affirming them when they were 8, 9, 10, 11 years old? The power. And I will tell you, we did that with our children. And I have a daughter right now that's in Spain because she believed that she was supposed to be there. She's there teaching English in Spain. And the reason that they're able to do that is because we taught them at a very young age that they didn't need the world to validate them, that they came validated, that validation is for parking, not people. So my children grew up knowing the power of who they are in this world. So they didn't need people to celebrate them. I've been cheering for them for a long time, and they learn how to cheer for themselves. So for those who want a master mindset, learn how to cheer for yourself. Don't wait for the world to tell you that you are brilliant, that you are smart. You need to know that so that on the days where the world is not telling you that, you already know it for yourself. You need to celebrate the small victories so that you can get to the larger victories. I don't know about you, but I carry confetti because I'm going to celebrate myself if I get the parking space up front when everybody else is circling the block. I'm celebrating because I go into it anticipating that the parking space is mine. So when you have that mindset that you're already a winner, you'll walk in a room and you won't shrink when you walk into the room. You will know that you're supposed to be in the room, that you have a right to be in the room. You won't go around apologizing when everybody else is identifying themselves as doctor this, doctor that. Because I can tell you, Alfred, I've been in the rooms before I became Dr. Cheryl Williamson, which, mind you, took me 22 years. It was on my vision board for 22 years to become Dr. Cheryl Williamson. But in those rooms when that wasn't the case and everybody was saying that, I never shrank because I have a confidence about myself to know that it's not about being arrogant. I'm very confident in who I am. So when you have that mindset of confidence, people can't talk you out of your destiny. They can't talk you out of your purpose. You have to get to the place at 20, 30, 15 where you know that this is who you are. This is what you want out of life. And it's never too early to start. In fact, anybody who is breathing should be speaking life in and over themselves right now. Because this we know for sure. You live long enough, somebody's going to tell you you're not smart enough, you're not pretty enough, you're too old,
Yes.
you waited too
Yes.
late. So you have to know who you are. And that's a part of your mindset. I don't know about everybody else, but I can tell you, I tell myself every day, girl, you look good. You are so
Oh, you
fine.
don't know me.
You
I,
are
I, I
beautiful.
say every day, all the time, and to anybody, whether they want to hear it or not, ain't nobody bad like me. I ain't saying you ain't bad, but ain't nobody bad like me. But I want to get to your point because I think it does say something about what we do for future generations. I know one of the ways I was blessed is that I was raised in a family that constantly affirmed me. I mean, my
Yes.
mama, and I'm not telling, I didn't come from a great, I was raised in a working poor household in a working class community. I come from working class people. Um, I'm not the first person in my family to go to college, but I'm one of the first, and we're the first to graduate.
Right.
But I can't remember a time, and I would say my the fact that I was academically gifted, that became apparent by the time I was 3. But I can't remember a time when I wasn't basically told, you the one. I don't know what you're gonna do, but I mean, Cheryl, I was being called doctor and professor by the time I was 8. I mean, it was
Yes.
just, and I look at that as a blessing because it absolutely created a foundation of confidence that allowed me to do things that nobody in my family is surprised. They're like, yeah, that's that. They call me Junior if I grew up. That's what
Yeah.
Junior does. That's, you don't know. I don't have a journalism degree. I didn't study journalism. But I became editor in chief of Black Enterprise. My family didn't blink. They're like, that's what he does. When I didn't weigh, he never weighed more than 130 pounds until my mid 30s. Nobody in my family blinked when suddenly I was a master's bodybuilding champion. They're like that. And so sometimes
That's what
I
he
have
does.
to remember myself. It's not other people know who you are, and sometimes you forget who you are without these
Yes.
affirmations, and you get these crises. And I tell people your ability to affirm yourself is going to be even more important after the age of 50 because ageism
It is.
is real, you know. And in the case of our people, ageism, the combination of ageism, racism, and for
Yes.
women, sexism, that's a crazy
Yes.
combination, especially in a culture that also has a double standard. Like you could be a 60-year-old man and still be a leading man in Hollywood, but they start looking at the woman funny if she looks like she's 30 uh,
It's
because
the
of the
truth.
whole. So if you're not in a mindset of self-affirmation in a world that will constantly tell you what you're not, that black people don't do this, people your age don't do this, black women don't get to do this, where you're from ain't right, you didn't go to right school, you will get lost in your purpose, which is what drives me and I think it drives you, will get lost in all that
Absolutely.
noise about what you ain't supposed to be doing.
It will. And I think that is why so many people come out to the different sessions that I have on mindset and they read the books because it gives them that ability to empower themselves. I have women and men now who are like 65, 70, 75. They're like, ma'am, where have you been? I'm writing, I'm affirming myself. Checks came in the mail. It's like it is awakening people, and that's why I get such joy going throughout the country speaking to people because I mean, Alfred, they're texting me, they're calling me. It's tears where they're saying, I didn't believe that I could do this until you told me to believe in me. And that is the big thing. It's not, I'm trying not, it's not that I'm trying to sell them on me. I'm selling them on themselves because it's like the reason people get up every day and get on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Oh, I need motivation. I don't teach people about motivation. I teach people about transformation, transforming your mind to know that you are capable of living your wildest dreams, capable of knowing that you can do the play, Alfred, at 60 years old and have your sellout audience. A brother, I'm looking forward to attending
I
your
will let you
play.
know.
Yes, so we just have to keep people in that mind frame, and that's what's changing people's families. That's changing their business. During the pandemic, people were telling me, Cheryl, I can't do this, and I said, do you not realize that God silenced your mind so that you could really just settle down and do this thing? And now their businesses are thriving because they told themselves, I can do this. I can apply for the grant. They saw themselves winning the grant. They saw themselves doing these things. Think about all the things that you and I have written down, just like we said at the beginning of the conversation, where we wrote these things down and now they manifested
And
into our lives.
here's the other thing, and again, I adopted this mindset early in life, but it's paying off. So it's so important for me now at this stage of my life. And I used to teach this to my kids and my mentees. I said I'd rather bet on myself and lose than bet against myself and win. And that means you're
Yes,
right. There are things I'm going to try and it's not going to work, or it's not going to work the first
right.
time, or it's not going to work out the way I want it to. But I tell people, how many good things happened in your life that you didn't? anticipate that you, but we accept that part. So
Yes.
again, and the older you get, if you're bringing the right mindset to the table, then you do should be like, what I got to lose? You're right. Suppose I do get fired. Suppose suppose I don't, this business doesn't work. Suppose I do my play and it doesn't sell. What? What do I have to lose at this point? And then you have to think, what do I have to gain? And that's the thing I try to get people to focus on. I mean, we're in a mindset, which is the correct mindset across generations of Black people. And now we're really focused on the importance of building wealth. That building wealth in our
Absolutely.
community gives us the resources to address so many other disparities in our community. And that, I mean, that was the mission of Black Enterprise from day one when our late founder Earl Graves founded the magazine in 1970. And now we've reached a critical mass of thought around building Black wealth. But here's my thing.
Yes.
If your people are either dying or sick in their peak earning years, if the average Fortune 500 CEO is 58 and the average S&P 500 CEO is 57, we already know that most entrepreneurs hit millionaire status in their late 40s, and then of course you build from there.
Right.
Then we do need a mindset shift that says no matter what the world is telling us about how long we're supposed to live, we and you as a fitness entrepreneur have to say no. I tell people God said I would live and not die, and I'm going to
Absolutely.
operate with intentionality and like self-validation that I am going to live. And I don't mean just survive. And again, as Black people, we have a survival mentality that did get us this far. But we weren't meant to
Yeah.
just survive. We were meant to thrive. And so one of the things I love about
Absolutely.
following you on social media, and of course I followed you before on social media, is this idea that you should be thriving. You should want to thrive. You should anticipate thriving, and you should make choices that lead to you thriving, which are very different choices, a very different mindset than the mindset you have to adopt when you're just trying to make it to the next day. That I always concerned that as Black people, we take what was meant to be a crisis mindset, and obviously we earned that mindset. We taught slavery, Jim Crow, discrimination, racism.
Yes.
It's good that we have that survival muscle because sometimes as Black people we got to go through it. But that's
Yes, we
not the
do.
way we were meant to live. I always tell people your natural
No.
state is not sadness and anger. Your natural state is happiness and joy, and you have to fight to try to maintain that natural state and not default to the it's a war, it's a battle, and I'm just trying to survive.
Absolutely. But that all of that starts with we have to realize that first of all, our happiness, it depends on
Yes.
us. And so many of us, we think happiness is in whatever a handbag or a house or whatever the case may be. And then when that's out of style, then we're not happy. But
Cheryl, are you trying to
happiness,
tell me that the world can't give me my joy and the world can't take it away? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
that's exactly what I'm telling you. They cannot, the world cannot give you your joy, and the world cannot take it away. And when we develop that type of mindset, and I learned that a while ago, and I will tell you, I didn't always have
Right.
that mindset. My mindset was, I want if everybody on the street has a pool, I need to have a pool because I wanted to fit in. If everybody else was getting a new this, I needed it. But when I realized that those things didn't make me happy, that was the game changer for me. That was the difference between me surviving and thriving. I realized that in order for me to thrive, I needed to save some money. I needed to work on my credit score. I needed to put myself in position to be with people, to listen to people who had already mastered this art of having money, saving money, investing money, and those types of things. And those are the things that we need to teach our younger generation. That's like my kids. I said, look, all of y'all right now are setting up IRA accounts. And I explained to them what it was, what would happen after you put X amount of money into it. And it's just a matter of us making a conscious decision to have conversation. Like my daughter, she said, oh, mom, I'm going to go ahead and get an apartment. And I said, well, why do you think you need to have an apartment? She said, well, people said, You heard me. People said you need to live on your own first. I said, yeah, you should live on your own first, but living on your own does not mean that you have to move in an apartment to make somebody else rich. What we're going to do is you're going to get a condo or something where you can live in one side and you can rent out the other side and you pay your mortgage off the other side. And she said, I didn't even think about that. The reason that I'm saying this is because we have to have open, candid conversation. Even when people don't want to listen, I still have the conversation. I don't mind people getting upset with me because I want to see people win. I want to see people have an attitude of abundance because this is what I learned. If everybody starts thinking as an abundant thinker, you will have less people trying to take what Alfred has. You will have less people feeling like, well, if Alfred is at Black Enterprise, I can't get a job at Black Enterprise. We have to realize that it's enough for everybody. It's enough for everybody. It is enough, more than enough for everybody. But we have to adopt that attitude within ourselves where we know that we are deserving of it. Because some of us, we don't even feel like we deserve it. And that's about mindset. I deserve to be blessed. I deserve to be favored. I deserve to live debt free. I deserve to not just thrive, to not to just be there. I deserve to do more than just survive. I have the right to thrive. And that's an affirmation right there for many people. I have the right to thrive.
You know, and again, I'm speaking to again the post 50 crowd who's living in the world that's telling them, not you, not now. It's too late. It's too late.
Yes,
And you know, one of my affirmations is that if you're still here, you have purpose. And if you have purpose,
yes,
you are privileged to be here. And therefore, it's
yes,
never, ever, ever too late. And, you know, whenever I talk to people about my fitness journey, and I tell people, I'm not 60, but my next birthday, I'll be 63. I'll be 63 years new. I don't say I'm 63 years old. Every year, every day, really, you're becoming a new person.
it's
So
new.
reject the world telling you that you are old because old means obsolete, old means useless, old means
Yes,
non-purposeful. If you're still here, you have a
you have a
purpose.
purpose.
And if you don't know what it
Yes,
is, then your purpose is to figure out what it is. But you have a purpose. And Cheryl, if I could tell you, and I'm preaching to converted, there are days when I wake up and I don't feel like getting out of bed. There are conversations I don't
mhm,
want to have. There's work I don't want to do. There's times I don't want to go to
yes,
the gym. There's always that because we live in, I tell people gravity exists. It's not
it does.
anti me. It's just it's just holding me down because it holds everything down. But in those moments when I don't feel like it, it's two things that get me going. One, you already said gratitude. The mere
Yes,
fact that I can have work that I don't want to do is a blessing when some people have work.
it is.
And and then it's purpose. That if I'm still
Yes,
here, even if I don't know
yes,
exactly what I'm supposed to be doing or why what I have to do today ties to my purpose of being here, it gives me a reason to be here. And
yes.
it's a wonderful thing when you can grab onto that on a day-to-day basis. When it comes to the mindset, again, when you're going to live in a world that will look at you when you're 50 or 60 or 70 or 80. Um, on the other hand, you mentioned social media. I get so much inspiration. I mean, then there's you, but I follow hashtag Fly Ageless, and you just see people who are 80 to 90 doing amazing things.
Yes,
Fly got the fly gear on. They know they got it
yes,
popping. They're doing and I tell people if you're going to be on social media, and I'm on it all the time, even that can be based on your mindset. You can use it to affirm. Don't follow people that make you feel bad. Don't follow accounts and
exactly.
people that are telling you what you can't do and what people like you can't do and what they don't do and ridicule. Follow those people that affirm what you do. So again, you get a steady diet of, yeah, I am doing well and I'm going to do better. Because there are people around me who are just like me or older than I am who are doing it, so I can do it too. I just think it's
Yes,
so. We can't keep going back to mindset and ritual and what you feed yourself every day. That underscores everything that you share and you teach and you represent.
absolutely. Because at the end of the day, and I love when you spoke on purpose, because I know clearly that my purpose is to impact the life of people. I don't run from it. I know very well what it is. And so that's why I make it a conscious decision every single day and in every single area of my life to make an impact on people, to let people know I see you. I see you because, Alfred, what I've found is some days people just want to know that you see them. And when you say that and you mean it, you don't have to say anything else. You don't have to give them any strategy, any tactics, anything. Just knowing that they are seen, and that gives impact in and of itself. And I love when you talk about surrounding ourselves with positivity, because it gets into your soul. It gets into your spirit, right? When you are around positive people, um, and you get their positive energy and you're giving them positive energy. And then with social media, if I could just say this, what I've told people to do, and this is what I do, I keep my spirit so high that people's offenses, they don't reach me. Because when you're on social media, everybody is not positive. Even though when you're giving a positive message, they find something in your message that has in some way, and you don't know how, it's offended them. So that's why you have to keep your spirit high and be a person that, you don't measure your life by what social media says, right? You have to stay positive and know who you are and whose you are so that you can make that impact. And that's what I see in you. That's why I love being on your page. It's always about impact, it's about uplift, it's about what can I do to help somebody else. And you can tell from the page that you mean it. It's not superficial. It's not just, oh, I needed to put something on here for the day. And so,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I tell my mentees, I tell people, but that's more what I tell myself that works for me. I tell other people. Further, I identify with eagles. I identify with eagles and turtles.
yes,
Turtles because they're patient and they just keep going and they don't care what anybody thinks
yes,
and they just keep going and going. And then they end up winning. People are like, how did he do that? Because he's not even paying attention. He's just doing it. So I identify with turtles, but I also identify with eagles. And one of my things I tell people, if you're an eagle and you're
yes.
concerned about what the chickens are saying about you, you're flying too low. You need to
Thank
escalate
you.
and elevate. That ain't your conversation. Let them have their conversation. You stay up here where you are, and the thing I accept as an eagle is they don't go in flocks. So you're
No,
right. I don't need to have a crowd of people around me. I don't need to have an entourage. I don't need to. Sometimes it's going to be
no,
me and maybe me and one other eagle, one or two other eagles, and we soaring up there and looking down, and we're like, it's all good. We get up here. But
absolutely.
again, those are little things that I think are critically important as we get older. And again, the world becomes even more insistent that you don't belong here. It's too late for you. We see we see all kinds of manifestations about this as we see people over the age of 40 doing very desperate things to still
Yes,
feel like they belong. And I can identify with the desperation. Nobody wants to be told that they're useless. Nobody wants to be told that they're not wanted anymore. But your mind, Cheryl, everything you say about leaning into your own self validation and your own purpose, so that just becomes noise that has nothing to do with you. So you could continue to find joy in your life, bring value to the world, and have purpose past the age of 50.
absolutely. And I've trained myself to know that when I play and stay in my lane, there is no traffic. I'm not in competition with anybody. The person that I compete against every day is me. The person that I want to be better than is me. And so when I train my clients and different people around the country to develop that level of thinking, they don't dwell on the fact that, oh, I'm 55. They dwell on the fact of, you know what, I can do this. Age is not a factor. That's like my client yesterday. I told her, I said, write this down that this is 50 is not fatal. 50 is is fine, is fun, is financially free, and you're fearless. And that's 50 and above, that's 45 and above. What we have to realize, and I hope that people will get this message from us today, is that when your mind set is in the right direction, you become unstoppable. And I often say that my peace is priceless and non-negotiable. My mindset tells me that. So there is nothing that anybody can tell me about what I can't do, what I'll never have, that you don't know the right people, you're too old. There is no such thing. And if we tell ourselves that we can do anything that we want to do, I know, Alfred, you and I can tell people it will happen for
Yes.
you. If you believe it, it will happen for you. There is no doubt. Write it down. And when you talk about ritual, write it down. I am gifted. There is nothing stopping me. And when you tell yourself that every day, that nothing is stopping you, nothing can stop you. Nothing and no one can stop someone that believes that everything and anything is
And not
possible.
only that, I tell myself, and if it doesn't happen, it's because something better is happening.
That is the
If,
truth.
if it
That's a
doesn't
word.
happen, it's because something better is happening. Not it didn't happen. And again, it sounds simple because it is simple. I tell you, it
It
is
is.
simple. It is as simple as just believing that and operating accordingly and being okay when everybody else says you're wrong. And being, and here's the other thing. Usually, what happens is if you are supremely confident in yourself, many of the naysayers will become your cheerleaders. When they realize that, well, ain't nothing I'm going to say going to stop them, then they see you do it and they're like, oh, sometimes their memory gets changed. I always knew you could do that, even though, right? But
Absolutely. Alfred, you have me
yeah, it's better
smiling.
to
You have
convert
me
them
smiling.
by doing, not by talking. I think I saw one of your affirmation posts from today. I think where you talk about don't waste your time explaining to people what you're doing. So you call it the
Yeah,
Noah approach.
yeah,
You
yeah. You
just
have to
do
have
it.
the
Don't worry
Noah
about
effect.
convincing. Don't worry about explaining. Don't worry about let me tell you why this is going to work. Just do it.
Absolutely. Because then that's the thing. You hit the nail on the head. When they say, "Oh, you can't do it," then when you do it, it's time for you to pay me to show you how I did it. They want to come and ask you for free. I'm like, no, it's no such thing as pick your brain session for free. It's going to cost you because you were one of the ones who said, "Oh, I know you'll never be able to do it," and then I do it. And who is the first one in my inbox? Hey, girl, see you you're doing film now. You won the HBO Max Award for 20 Pearls. How'd you do it? I'm like, sister, let me slide you my website real quick so we can set up this consultation.
Well,
I'm like,
that's a
no.
great note as we coming down the home stretch of this conversation because I did wrestle with that. I spent my career as a traditional professional, working hard,
Right.
getting raises, but knowing I was getting a check, that it was coming. And when I started down this journey, like I said, in my mid 40s, and it really kind of came in tuition in 2015, where yes, I still am a senior executive at Black Enterprise. I still work for BE. I'm coming on my 36th anniversary at the company. Yeah, and praise God. Oh, but on the flip side, a lot of my income now is what I can go out and do and get.
Yep.
And Cheryl, it was, and I'm speaking to, again, if you're in your 40s and your 50s, and for the first time, maybe you got to put a price tag on the value you bring to the world. And you got to be able to be confident enough. Let's go back to confidence to say, no, I won't do it for free. No, I'm not going to do it
Right.
for a Twinkie and a free ride and some exposure. We can do a whole other show on the exposure word. But it goes back to confidence. Are you confident in all the mastery that you built up over the years? If you're at 50 and you're doing what you do, you got relationships you built up over the years. You've mastered a few things, and part of the advice I give to a lot of people who are in that stage of trying to put their talents out there and have the world value it is that you got to be willing to say this is what it's worth. And that goes back to confidence. It goes back to what do you believe about yourself and what you can do and what you earn so that you can say, this is my price without blinking. This is my fee. These are my terms. This is what I'm going to do. And I tell people it's going to become necessary because, and I'm still waiting for it. As near as I can tell, I'm not getting. They're not letting me age out of paying my mortgage. They're not letting me say, okay, you're a certain age, you don't have to pay for your food. That if you're talking about living this winning life, you have to be able to have confidence to say, this is the value I bring to the table, and I deserve, whether that's financial compensation or other forms of compensation, in return for that. And a lot of times, if you come into this feeling like you're not, especially if you got, your unfortunate circumstance where you maybe got laid off at this stage, it's like a message telling you that what you have to offer the world isn't worth anything anymore. And once again, you got to reject that and say, no, it's worth something, and I'm going to communicate that worth, and I'm going to ask what I'm worth because I believe in what I bring to the table.
I am totally with you, and I will tell you, when I first started, I was a little hesitant. My daughter came in one day, and I'll never forget it. She said, "Mom, you spend so many hours on the phone talking to people all day for free." She said, "You can't keep doing that." So I stopped the lady in the middle of the conversation, and I said, "Hey, we've been on the phone for an hour." I said, "I'm going to have to charge you." I already had my link ready because I also believe in be ready and stop getting ready. So I had my link ready. I sent her the link, and Alfred, she was willing to pay. But because I didn't know my worth at the time, I was giving it away for free. Now I can tell you, and I gave somebody this phrase the other day, when people walk up to you and corner you and start saying, "Oh, I want to ask you a question," you very clearly tell them, "I will be happy to consult with you. Let me send you my link to book an appointment." That way they know you're not speaking for exposure, for free, or any of those things. The other thing I do is I set my price, I sit back, I cross my legs, and I'm quiet. I don't talk myself out of the deal by their quietness. I get quiet too because in my mind, I'm like, they're trying to figure out how they're going to pay me.
That's right. That's right.
So I, right? So I
And
just
I
sit
always
quiet.
tell my people, I say, listen, don't be ridiculous, but set the highest reasonable price that you can set, because you can always discount. If you set it low, you're
Absolutely.
not going to be able to increase it. So you can have
Absolutely.
flexibility. You want to give yourself as much flexibility as possible, and you can't do that if you say I'll do it for $2 and a bus ride. There's no place to go
Mm-mm.
from there.
And you
So
know,
you got it. But it starts back. You won't have that conversation. And again, I wrestled with that. I really did. In fact, my other thing is like if you can't hold the line, pay somebody else to do it for you. I
now
have a speaker rep.
that's what
I
I
was like,
do
part
too,
of their job
Alfred.
is to be tough when I want to give in. They're they'll
Absolutely.
say, no, this is what Mr. Edmond is worth. But whatever you got to do, again, we're talking to
Mm-hmm.
you again, 50-plus-year-olds that are trying to make sure you get the value out of your skills. You got to have the
Absolutely. I
confidence.
tell people they're not paying me for the a lady asked me that. She said, "Oh, it's just an hour." I said, "You're not paying me for the hour." I said, "You're paying me for what I bring to the table." I said, "Didn't Beyonce just get paid $24 million for 2 hours? So how would you like do the math on that?"
Right.
You can't. You're paying for who she is and her experience. So I just went back to my original price and I said, "Ma'am, this is what it is for an hour." And she said, "Well, it's by Zoom." I said, "I have to do the same prep
Exactly.
time."
Exactly.
So yeah, I don't care if it's by Zoom or Smoke
Right.
Signal. It's the same price. The price
It's
is the
like you're
price.
not paying for my 20-minute speech. You're paying for the 30 years that it took me to be able to deliver this 20-minute speech. And
Exactly.
again,
Alpha.
sometimes
Look,
when we
we're right
get to this
here.
age group, especially if we haven't been an entrepreneur all our careers, we're used to setting the price one time during our performance review. Like, okay, I'm good. I don't have to have this conversation again for a year at least. But
Absolutely.
when you're at this stage of the game, and let me be clear for most of us who are in this age range, because of the way the world works, yeah, there'll be some places that'll let you work a regular job until you're 70, maybe. Most places are going to tell you
Hmm.
either directly or indirectly, um,
Bye
bye.
bye.
Because not even because you're not good at what you do, it's just like in pro sports. You're living in a world where they're like, I can pay three people who are in their 20s what I'm paying you, and
Yes.
less health benefits, et cetera, et cetera. So whether it's fair or not is not the point. The point is you're going to have to be able to make the case, and this goes back to your point, Cheryl, about being confident in yourself and your abilities. To say, no, I have
Absolutely.
X number of years of experience. I have relationships. I've forgotten more than other people are learning now, and therefore there's a value to that. And you
Exactly.
must know there's a value because you keep coming to me. Why are you
Jackpot.
here if you don't? And like you said, most of the time, it's not because people don't want to pay us. It's because if we don't ask for it, if we don't require it, why would they offer it?
And
If
that's
you're
the
telling me your
truth.
price
That's
tag
why, and
is
I'm
zero,
sure
I
you
will
do
gladly
this.
pay zero.
You are so, I mean, you are so right. You are so right. You are so right. People pay you, I mean, they'll pay you if you ask, they'll pay you. I
And the
just
ones and the
give
ones
it. This is
that
what
won't
it costs.
aren't your customer. It's all right.
No, and know what? That's the thing. You don't want everybody as your customer. And I know that's a whole different can of wax. I hope we'll
I'm
be
gonna
able
have
to
to
come
bring you
on and
back.
talk
That's
about
what
that
this means,
because you don't want
right?
everybody. Everybody is not your ideal client. And the people who want to pay the least, that's the ones who give you the
Oh,
biggest headache.
oh my God!
Right? Look, I saw you
You're
fall
trying to
back.
turn this
So I
into a
know you
2-hour
know.
show. I see what you're doing over there.
Yes,
Because the
Alfred, you
people
gotta
that
have me
really
back.
recognize your value pay you well. The people
They
that are
do.
nickel and diming you are going to treat you nickel and dime because they
They
don't
do.
believe in the
And those
value. They don't honestly believe in the value. And
Yep, they don't even show up on time for the
right,
appointment. That's why I don't do 15-minute free consultations. I said, sweetie, if you call me, you already know about me. Somebody told you about me, so I don't give 15 minutes for free. So here's the website. Oh yeah, we have to have another
yeah,
conversation because we got to talk about the people who reach out to you for, oh, my friend told me about you and I want to have you for lunch and pick your
I want
brain.
you to be my mentor.
You got it. I mean, you have it. And when I tell you, brother, I have admired you since I started going to BE years and years ago, before I even had the companies that I have. That's why I said yes to you, just to be in this environment with somebody so knowledgeable and so kind and just so straightforward about sharing information. That's why as soon as you saw I jumped on it as soon as I got the message, I was like, oh Lord, this is Edmund calling me. Oh, let me get on
Well,
this.
Cheryl, I knew I was going to have a ball with you because you know how we do. But
Yes.
thank you so much for joining me for Beyond the Hype. Before you go, because as with every guest on this show, we're like, we can never get everything in an hour. But what's the best way for the Beyond the Hype audience, the Black Enterprise audience, to follow you on social, the website, to get Cheryl magazine, to get your books, to
Thank you.
whatever? You got a lot
I'll
to
be
give.
real
So let's
quick.
make sure my audience can get all that.
I would love to. Thank you so much, my brother. Please, everybody, follow me on Instagram at Dr. Cheryl Pelote Williamson. Follow me on Facebook, same thing, Cheryl Pelote Williamson. My website is CherylPWilliamson.com. And of course, I want you to get your copy of Cheryl magazine because we have an amazing person on the spring cover. You won't believe who it is, but you'll need to get it. Cheryl magazine, inspiration for the everyday woman. Why? Because I see you, because I
And let
am
me
you.
make sure you guys understand. It's Cheryl with a C and
Yes,
Pelote, Polote, Williamson.
yes,
Right. So just
yes.
so you know. But you look up
Thank
Cheryl
you,
P,
my
she gonna
brother.
pop up anyway. So just Google it. It's gonna be all right. Cheryl, thank you so much for being my guest.
Thank you so much for allowing me to be in this space, in this place, in this moment with someone so dynamic. I
And I'm
appreciate
looking
you.
forward to seeing you in person soon. That's the other thing. I am so
Yeah.
I don't take for granted anymore when I get to see people in person after these last few years.
Oh, me
So,
either.
so I'm glad I'm seeing you here, but I can't wait to see you face to face and to hug on your neck and to tell you how special you are.
My joy. Looking forward
All
to it.
right. Listen, guys, I promised you I delivered another great edition of Beyond the Hype. I'm Alfred Edmond Jr., Senior VP, Executive Editor at Large at Black Enterprise. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.